Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Aviation Week Network Fast Chat focusing on bringing data science into the cockpit to reduce fuel burn. My name is Wesley Charnock. I'm the Content Marketing Director at Aviation Week, and I'm delighted to be joined by Francois Giselle, Head of Sales Support Safety Line at CETA for Aircraft. Francois, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Great to see you. I've got a few questions to run through, Francois. I'd like to jump in straight away if that's okay. The first question really is, what are the different options for airlines to save fuel and reduce those carbon emissions?
Yeah, well, airlines have several options. Of course, the best way to save fuel is brand new airplanes. That'll save a lot of fuel, up to 15%. You could also add some winglets to your airplanes. Both of those are investments that you would need to amortize. And also there's, of course, sustainable aviation fuel, but that will actually, make your fuel more sustainable from the sourcing point of view, but it will result in the same emissions. So in all three cases, you can still go one step further and further optimize the fuel burn, whether it's with new aircraft winglets or SAF, and reduce your fuel by optimizing the trajectories thanks to machine learning performance models for each tail.
Okay, so talk to me about that. What do those in-flight tactical recommendations bring in addition to the use of legacy fuel dashboards?
So, most airlines will use fuel efficiency dashboards, which will allow them to monitor existing best practices. Those are standard best practices. They're not really flight specific. What we can do is by using information from the flight plan and from the weather forecast for that day in combination with tail-specific performance models, make some flight-specific recommendations for each flight to the pilots and allow them to save a lot of fuel, for each flight, additional fuel.
CETA obviously has an OptiFlight system, which makes use of machine learning and artificial intelligence. They're obviously quite modern and innovative approaches. What are the benefits of using those approaches?
Well, the benefit of using machine learning is we'll be able to take the flight data from each individual aircraft and build a predictive performance model that will be specific to that aircraft, which will allow us to optimize all flight phases, even the most complex ones. And the most complex is really the climb out, because there's a lot of parameters changing at the same time while the aircraft climbs to its top of climb. But it's really a phase where you can save a lot because it's burning a lot of fuel at high thrust levels. And we're able to save 5 to 6% of the climb out fuel thanks to these machine learning performance models.
The OptiFlight suite itself is composed of OptiClimb and OptiDirect. So in terms of the next steps of product development for that, what do those look like?
Right, so OptiClimb optimizes the climb out, like I just said. OptiDirect will recommend some shortcuts to the pilots, again, flight specific, taking into account the flight plan and the weather. And on the roadmap, we have OptiLevel, which will help the pilots optimize the flight level, taking into account the winds for that flight. And also OptiDescent, which is slightly different from OptiClimb. Descent is far more constrained, and most of the times pilots will have to do the descent that ATC imposes on them. But we can help them predict what is the most likely descent path, so that they can choose the right top of descent depending on the distance to go. So those are going to be rolled out in Q4 2022, both OptiLevel and OptiDescent.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of, obviously CETA has other products in the market, such as EOS Pilot, Flight Folder, and eAircraft Data Hub. How does this product interact with those? What are the synergies there?
Yeah, so it's really important for us that our products speak to each other. There's already a lot of applications in the cockpit, and we have to make sure that they integrate seamlessly. The EOS Pilot Weather app is CETA's weather application for pilots in the cockpit. Pilots will be able to see the OptiFlight recommendations integrated into the weather app. They'll click on a particular waypoint on the map, and that'll give them a recommendation for that particular waypoint. Likewise, the flight folder is the electronic version of the briefing package that pilots will have in the cockpit. We can integrate our recommendations there. This is what pilots are looking at when they enter the speeds for the climb, for instance. And as well, the eAircraft Data Hub is a solution we're making available to airlines once we've collected the flight data to build our machine learning performance models. That data is not only used for OptiFlight, but can also be made available for other applications from other providers. And we will allow the airline to manage their data and how they distribute it, not just to us, but also to any third parties.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Hopefully you make a real difference in obviously what's an incredibly important agenda for airlines, the industry, and society as a whole right now. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for this Aviation Week Network Fast Chat. And of course, many thanks to Francois Giselle of CETA for Aircraft for joining us today. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.